Every teacher has dreams and visions of what they desire, not just for their students in their classrooms, but what they desire for themselves as teachers and as normal people. For centuries, wise people have studied goal setting, and they've often dedicated their entire lives to figuring out this secret power of setting a goal, writing it down, and meditating on it as essential parts of an achievement process. So today, as we step into a new year and kick off 2022, I'm talking about the one thing I do several times a year that has really helped me to keep my visions and dreams at the front of my mind, and how doing this one thing really has shaped my ability to bring some real dreams to life, not just in my normal life, but also in my teacher life. So if you're ready, let's talk. Welcome back and Happy New Year. My name is Nina Rodriguez, and this is my channel, Misfit to Teach, where I talk about all things teaching and how to stay mentally, physically, and emotionally fit to teach. So if I haven't met you already, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you and I can come together every week. Even though there's lots of ways to go about goal setting and manifestation, there's one tradition that I have, this little appointment that I make with myself every 90 days so that I can bring my dreams to life. It's called the 90-day letter. And I actually got this idea from one of my favorite business coaches, Sunny Lenarduzzi. But I've heard similar approaches over the years of similar visualization and manifestation processes. And I never understood how the simple act of writing down what you want could somehow magically make those things more likely to happen. As I looked into that question, though, the answer actually became as practical as it was spiritual and logical and also fun. In Christianity, the Bible tells us, "Write the vision, make it plain on tablets, so he may run who reads it. For still the vision awaits the appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay." And the part that sticks out to me the most, as it does for a lot of people who study Christian teachings, is that there's this ancient mention of writing down the things that we are dreaming for and that we're believing for, the things that we're hoping for, as though writing down takes a very official position on those things. More recently, though, in Forbes magazine in 2018, they published an article explaining the neuroscience of why it's important to write down our goals and actually what happens on a brain function level when we write those things down. The article is really fascinating, but it actually goes on to say that when we write our goals down, two things happen. The first is external storage, and the second one is encoding. So external storage is a more logical and practical thing out of the whole process, and it's really just where we take the thoughts in our head and we manifest them down to something that we can see in front of us, like a piece of paper, something that's easily accessible, that we can revisit all the time. This first part is really an important step, because through external storage we make it so that this goal of ours can be revisited at any time, and it makes us expend energy, mental energy, thinking on the ways that we can bring it to fruition. The second phenomenon is encoding, and this is basically our brain's process of sending the ideas that we perceive into the part of our brain called the hippocampus. And it's in this section of our brain where information is filtered out and further decisions are made as to what is going to be stored as long-term memory and what is going to be discarded. Writing is actually shown to help that process. So it turns out that thinking on our goals daily is really helpful to making us remember them and also planning to make them happen. Who knew? So, out of all the goal setting strategies that I've ever heard of, by far my favorite one is called the 90-day letter. And I love the 90-day letter because it's basically this love letter, this vote of confidence or word of encouragement that your future self sends to your present self after you have achieved all the things that you wanted to achieve within 90 days. I love approaching my goals from this sense of having already accomplished them because it allows you to step into the feeling of having the things that you think about and having the things that you want while still in your present self. You're kind of striving for them and planning and working to achieve them. So step one of the 90-day letter, you want to have this in a place where it's easily accessible to you. You can take it with you anywhere and you can revisit it multiple times a day if that's what you need to do. So for me, my 90-day letter is stored in this ratty little notebook that I take with me literally everywhere. And I've had several 90-day letters over the years. So once you have found a place to store your 90-day letter, you are going to brainstorm. That's where you're just dumping out the things that you want to accomplish within the next 90 days of your life. So really, step one is after you have found a place to store your letter, a place where you're going to write it down, you need to think about what is it that you want? What are you hoping to achieve? What are you working for in the next 90 days? So brain dump those things. Don't worry about how absurd they sound because the 90-day letter is not a place for you to be second guessing what you want. It's a place to allow you to step into the fullness of what you desire. Step two, once you have finished figuring out everything that you desire for yourself within the next 90 days, you are going to address your letter from your future self. So it helps me to literally count out 90 days from the day that I'm writing the letter and putting that date on the letter. And as I'm writing from my future self, I am mentioning all the things that it's only me. Can you tell I start to sound crazy? After I address it to my present self from my future self 90 days from now, I start writing about all the things that I have achieved throughout the 90 days. You want to mention anything that you have accomplished, any great things that you have experienced, or any challenges that you've been able to overcome. As you're writing, it's really important to be descriptive and mention how those things made you feel, how they made you feel as far as how they've improved your life, and also what kind of difference that's made for you. When we use these descriptive words and we start talking from a place that our dreams and goals have already happened, we're actually triggering our subconscious mind to shift around our circumstances and to start thinking of plans in which that we can bring these things to life. So I would encourage you to use descriptive, powerful words as you're writing. Remember to be honest with yourself, but also keep the letter positive, encouraging, and upbeat. Is this making sense so far? I know some of this can sound really super trippy, like, your head is out in space, but when it comes to manifesting the things that we want for ourselves, what do we really have to lose? Like, honestly, if writing down our goals helps us to keep them at the forefront of our mind and therefore at the forefront of our daily activities, we're no worse off from having written those goals down. And by writing this 90-day letter, we actually give ourselves a leg up because we are speaking from a place of those goals having already happened. And in my opinion, that allows us to speak and to think and to function from a feeling of being accomplished and from a feeling of knowing that we are creatures who really can create our own reality. Okay, so let's keep going. Step 3. So Once you have written several sentences talking all about the wonderful things that you've been able to accomplish, experience, the challenges that you've been able to overcome in the past 90 days, it's really important to start weaving in some sentences and statements about how achieving those things made you feel. You also want to mention why achieving those things was important to you to begin with, sort of reminding your present self why you value these items. So, how do you do that? How do you create that sentence? You ask yourself, how do I want to feel 90 days from now? You also ask yourself, how did accomplishing A make me feel and why was that important to me? The more detail and description you use with yourself, the better you're going to feel each time you go back and reread this letter. And that brings me to step number 4. Once you have written your letter, no matter how long or how short it is, and really it should be pretty lengthy, but you're not writing a book or anything, but no matter how long it is, you want to keep this in a place that is highly accessible to you, and you want to read it at least twice a day, at the very least. You want to read it in the morning when you first get up and at night before you go to sleep. That way, when you wake up, it is programming your brain, it is training you to be in the mindset of focusing on your goals. When you go to sleep at night, you are tying up the loose ends and you are putting a little bow on top of that day and recentering yourself for a good night's rest while thinking on your dreams and your vision. Okay, bonus. Once you have finished your 90-day letter and you reach the 90-day deadline, you have read that every single day, 90 days, you are working towards your goals, you really will be delighted as to how much you actually can achieve when you are constantly revisiting your goals throughout 90 days. But eventually those 90 days will expire. So when that happens, what you can do, you can have a time of reflection. Take stock of all those things that you were able to achieve, what's still kind of left in the to-do list of your mind, and count out another 90 days and write yourself a new 90-day letter, updating yourself on all that you were able to accomplish in the previous 90 days and what you're looking forward to in the next 90 days, sort of building and gaining momentum on the progress that you've already made. As we know, there's about 365 days in a calendar year, except of course when there's a leap year, but assuming it's a normal year, the 90-day letter allows for roughly 4 90-day letters in a calendar year. So if you are writing yourself this wonderful, refreshing letter 4 times in the space of 365 days, well, when the time that year is up, you'll be delighted by how much you've been able to achieve over that course of time and how much progress you've made because you consistently wrote down your goals, you worked toward them, and you revisited them frequently by reading that letter. I hope you've gotten something valuable out of our discussions today, and please let me know in the comments below what your manifestation process is and how you go about goal setting. If you're going to try the 90-day letter, and I hope you do, be sure to reach out to me and leave a comment about your experience with this and what all you were able to achieve. I love hearing from you, and I love knowing what you've been able to accomplish both in your personal journey and in your teacher journey. Thanks so much for watching, and do all you can to stay fit to teach. Be well.